Taking first cut. Golly!
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's Houston Open. That means storylines, best bets, and one and done. The man currently atop the one and done is with us. It's Mark Immelman. Mark, good to have you.
Oh, what's up, guys? Good to be with you. Tuesday afternoon. I actually was hitting a few golf shots here just a little while ago. So lovely out here. Lovely fall day in Georgia.
Lovely fall day indeed. Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, what up?
Mark, I saw a little video of the action there. It's looking good, silky smooth as always.
I'm
running the family.
I'm using that whippy club, Greg. This is a thing. I got to tell you. My goodness gracious, I didn't realize how out of time I was.
I noticed there was a little bit of play in the shaft at the top of the swing there. So that was the first thing I noticed. But I will say, I'm a proponent of that. If it fits you properly, I play regular flex iron shafts and much softer flex in my woods as well. And so it can definitely work, but the fitting is the most important thing.
Okay, just because there's questions already from our producer. I'm not using senior flex clubs, even though I've got the gray beard over here. This is a training aid, Jacob. This thing is extra whippy, and it's designed to teach you good rhythm, tempo, timing. It's a good deal. Lag shot.
You don't have to justify anything. It's okay.
Right, okay. Wow.
That's Kyle Porter. KP, welcome in, my friend. How are you?
I've got a take.
Right off the top,
I hate daylight savings time. Listen, like,
welcome.
I don't. It's like, let's just leave it out. Like, leave it on daylight savings. Like, I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. and it be light out. I don't mind. I don't mind it being dark.
We were talking about this the other day. This is normal time now, right? So we want to go back to what we had.
Yes, correct.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
But if you're in agriculture, your take would be different. But for the rest of us who play golf and stuff, yeah, it sucks. I'm with you. Absolutely.
That's a good point, because
the farmers are up. They need daylight to do their stuff, while we're still sleeping.
Totally. But like, yeah, that's fair. But also,
doesn't that just make them get up earlier?
Yeah,
but
like they're gonna have the same amount of daylight, right? Like, what does it matter what time it is? It's just an hour. Like, I don't understand.
It's all about the schools. You don't want kids on the bus.
Everybody's got.
You don't want kids waiting at the bus stop in the dark.
I'm staying with
I think that's fair. But I think that so do it for like a month, because that really only comes into play for like a month. Right, because it would still be getting light out. Well, I guess it'd be like 7:30 or something.
Arizona does not even adhere to this. They stay on the same time zone at all times. How can we have certain states opting out?
I want to opt out. Can my neighborhood opt out?
Maybe you personally can opt out. I'm on summertime, summer central time.
I just show up. Well, I already show up late to everything. It would just be a little bit later to everything.
It's a good take, though. This is an awesome take.
Gentlemen, another day, another breaking news story about a golf tour. This time it is not a new tour. This is an existing tour. The European Tour. Get that out of your vernacular. Not what we're going to call it anymore, because it has rebranded to the DP World Tour. Now, Greg is disqualified from this because I know he reads the outlines. What in the world kind of company is DP World? Does anybody want to take any guesses?
You don't think I read the outlines?
I do not think you read the outlines, no.
I helped make the outline. I was the first one to put my stuff in the outline.
You put your picks in for sure. But did you read the other bullet points? I know Mark doesn't.
It's like a logistics company or something. Yeah, like a global logistics.
Yeah, they're in logistics. I knew that, and I didn't look at the timeline.
There you go. It is a Dubai-based logistics company that specializes in cargo logistics, port terminal operations, maritime services, and free trade zones. That sounds
busy,
like
busy time for DP.
It's a tough.
World these days.
I was going to say it's a tough year for port terminal operations.
Not in Dubai, I don't think. Goodness gracious.
$8.5 billion in revenue a couple of years ago, 50,000 employees, 50,000. This is a big company that is going to be taking over the namesake of what we used to know as the European Tour. And this continues our conversation from, I don't know, the last couple of weeks and months here, Mark, that business is booming in the world of golf because this is going to increase purses. Now each tournament, a minimum purse of $2 million. It's just going to be an influx of more money, more opportunities, and kind of more synergies around the world.
And right back at you, Saudis basically as well. A little shot across the bow from basically the governing bodies, the European Tour and the PGA Tour. But just from a personal point of view, with all these co-sanctioned events that the European Tour has had around the globe, they've been to Malaysia, they've been to Hong Kong, they've been down in Australia, they've had co-sanctioned events in Central Africa and South Africa. It's essentially been a global tour. If you play the European Tour, I think less than half of the events are in Europe. And I speak under correction over there. So I'm glad that they've done this. I think the infusion of money is going to be awesome. The European Tour is a mainstay, and they got hurt pretty badly by COVID. And for DP to get up behind them a little bit more and galvanize this relationship and have some guys like Rory McIlroy and John Rahm come out and show their support for this thing, I think it's a big deal. I really do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting subplot to all of this here, Greg, is the guys that kind of go back and forth. Obviously, the purses are still going to be much larger on the PGA Tour, but maybe a little bit more incentive to make a swing out of it on the European side, depending on where those tournaments are at, instead of just kind of running back and forth at all times and trying to figure it out that way.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to see a huge change in schedule, because ultimately, if your goal is to play the PGA Tour, you're going to play the PGA Tour and the purses are still larger, as you mentioned. But when you do have an opportunity to go play in Europe, it's improved significantly. And it also, the PGA Tour and the European Tour have a strategic alliance. So this is good for both of them, and it's good for the current stakeholders in the game. And this is the thing that competition does. Whenever there's competition, it asks everybody to excel. And Tiger Woods brought more competition to the PGA Tour, and the players had to get better as a result. And this is what we're left with. So we're seeing the main stakeholders in the game look for ways to improve. And I can't help but think that's a positive sign for everybody involved.
I think that's the big thing, KP, the strategic alliance with the PGA Tour. Also, whether the SGL, the PGL, the whatever you want to call it, whether that gets off the ground, as of this moment, there is a very strong case to be made that just the conversations have been good for the game of golf, because the PGA Tour snapped their fingers, said, here's a PIP. Here's what we're going with. We're going to have this strategic alliance with the European Tour. We're going to raise the purse of the Players Championship and all these other tournaments. The European Tour following suit with this new sponsorship, or the DP World Tour. I guess I should get used to saying that. This is, again, pillar after pillar after pillar of defense that is only going to be better for the players and seemingly the game.
I don't know that those two things are the same. I think it is better for the players, right? Because there's more money involved. It's going to be hard not to call it the European Tour.
I know.
And I love the European Tour. I think it's so unique and interesting. And it's kind of, one of my friends talks about how it feels at times like golf has just become a vehicle for marketing. Right. So you've got all these things that are branded and named and all this money flowing in, and it just feels kind of weird sometimes. It doesn't seem like that happens as much in other sports. Like it does happen, but not like in the same way. Like I don't watch an NFL game and feel like there are brands, there are relationships, like money does flow in, but it doesn't feel as like blatant or in your face. And so I don't know, maybe that's nitpicking, because if I'm in charge of the European Tour and somebody doubles the money, I'm probably saying yes to that. But it just, like, I think broadly speaking, I don't know, like the direction of it is I think it kind of is stinky a little bit. Like I don't love it, but And I think that leads me into the second part, which is like, should more money be, and maybe I'm reversing course on this, but should more money be flowing in? Should purses be getting bigger? Should contracts be getting bigger in a post-Tiger world? Is that sustainable? You know, because I think that that's clearly the trajectory of all this. And it's like, man, I don't like to do that. Are you going to have to just turn up the commercials and the branding of the product, which is what I'm talking about, so high that your product just becomes like unconsumable or unwatchable? You know, I think I don't know that that's a reality right now. I think that's a real fear for the future. And it is great that players are getting more money because I think they deserve that in a lot of ways, but I don't know about the sustainability of that going into the future. And that concerns me because I don't want players to make more money at the expense of delivering a good product to fans and to people who consume it.
Well, ultimately, my take on that, Kyle, is this is a chain of events and everything is related. So ultimately, a company like DP World wants to get more involved with the European Tour because there's something to gain there. There's something that benefits their business there, and that is there's much more exposure. There's a platform for them to handle other business, but ultimately there are people that are watching. And so when FedEx wants to be more involved with the PGA Tour because there are people that are watching. So those sponsorships have value because of the audience that it brings. And then when you have that audience and the players get more, the audience comes from the players. You want to watch a PGA Tour event or a European Tour event to see the best players in the world compete. So you have the players, you have the sponsor, and the players attract the viewers, and the viewers attract the sponsors. And then when the purses are really large and the players are taken care of, that incentivizes players to want to get there. And now all of a sudden it's really valuable to become a PGA Tour player. There's so much financial opportunity and gain. And so the competition to become a PGA Tour player increases. The value of being a professional golfer is closer, and you could argue at the very top end, it may be higher than being a football player. And so now your best athletes are more attracted to golf. Your athletes are attracted to golf. The competition in golf gets better. The product gets better. And ultimately that attracts sponsors and viewers. And so I think this is a sign of the health. I don't think, and if it goes the other way and the product diminishes, then you'll start to lose viewers and then you'll lose sponsors.
What if you lose viewers, not because the product diminishes, but because the presentation of the product diminishes because there's not enough money involved to present it well because you're giving it all to the players. So that's kind of what I'm
back, right?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like if Best Buy went, I'm just making up brands, which I probably shouldn't do on a podcast that has sponsors. But if Best Buy went to the PGA Tour and said, we'll give you $50 billion a year and you have to run I'm being an idiot here, but I'm making an extreme example. But you have to run Best Buy commercials for 4.5 hours of the broadcast or whatever. And then you can show 30 minutes of golf. What would the PGA Tour do? Right. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at of like, are you over leveraging yourself here as a entity to where your product is just not consumable by normal sports fans?
Kyle, and I'm using FedEx as an example, and then I want to read a quote. Actually, I'll first read a quote from Sultan bin Salyem, who's the chairman of DP World. And he said, they've been partners with the European Tour for over a decade. The long-standing partnership provides an excellent platform to engage with customers, prospects, stakeholders, and build the brand. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to increase the commercial load on the television broadcast. Look at FedEx, for argument's sake, with the Tour. How many FedEx commercials do you see in any regular PGA Tour broadcast? It's minuscule. There are other companies that come on board alongside the thing. And even in Memphis, there's not a whole lot of FedEx commercials you watch. all of the work they do is the warm and fuzzy stuff where they get guests in, they show them around the facilities. It's all that sort of like the immeasurables, the below the line sort of stuff. It's not the commercial load on TV. And as far as my experiences have been in television at the network level, the producer has a say-so in how long the commercial breaks are. Now, there are certain commercials you have to get in because of relationships, like Aon on the tour or whatever the case might be. But they have a say to say, hold on, this is going to compromise the integrity of our product. Because remember, the broadcasters, they've also got stakeholders that they have to satisfy as well. And if you go to them and say, well, you get to show 30 minutes of golf in a 4-hour show, they're going to be like, not so much. We've paid for a whole lot more than this for the broadcast rights. So all DP are getting out of this to say at every event they'll have a place where they can bring their people in and show folks and have players show up and have champagne and that sort of deal. That's a lot of this title sponsorship thing, in my opinion.
Do these title sponsorships ever even pay for themselves? We'll never know, right? And we'll never know what deals were made because someone was invited to hospitality and they got to know someone. But like, have I ever considered going to FedEx like for my shipping needs ever? No, I've never considered going anywhere for my shipping needs. So I do wonder how they calculate the value that comes out of these.
Yes, the thing, a lot of it is the B2B. It's not the business to consumer thing about this. And to your observation, yeah, I'm not necessarily going to go and buy Kleenex because they sponsor an event, for argument's sakes. But the Kleenex folks coming in there and they get to hang out with Phil Mickelson for 45 minutes and he tells a story or two and poses for a picture. That is infinite value. It really does.
And the other thing is the brand recognition is a really valuable thing. And if you study advertising at all, the number of impressions has a really big effect. Mark brings up Kleenex. Well, Kleenex is one of the most amazing brands and brand recognition cases I've ever seen. People don't use the word tissue anymore. Yeah. Instead of, can I have a tissue? It's, can I have some Kleenex? Velcro is another one. Velcro is a product, you probably don't even know this. It's called hook and loop. But nobody says hook and loop. Hey, I need a little hook and loop. No, you need Velcro. And so, but that comes from repeated impression. And so advertising is a scientific thing now. It used to be a gamble for companies to advertise, but it's not anymore. They know the recipe. They know exactly how it works. And there are people with full-time jobs who study this kind of thing. And so it's very effective, and it does have some kind of return. Otherwise, they would stop doing it.
I think the other thing I would say is you've got an interesting dynamic with if all the, like, let's say I don't know how much money the revenue the PGA Tour generates every year. Let's say it's $1 billion. I don't know what the number is. And if the top 15 players all got together and were like, hey, we want 900 million of that billion, or if we want 990 million of that $1 billion, or we're going to the whatever league is in vogue in that month, what would the PGA Tour do? Right. And I think it's different in golf than it is in other sports, because I think in other sports, you've got this ownership that provides a little bit of a buffer between like business owners own teams, and that provides a buffer between players and the league. And in this, it's like the league is the players, and so you just they get so close to it that if I'm a player and PGA Tour is like, well, we can't do that. We gotta present PGA Tour Live and like all this different stuff. If I'm a player, I'm like, I don't know, man, figure it out. And I think that players sometimes don't understand the way that stuff works and should work into the future the way a business owner would, the way the owner of now I'm not here to lionize NBA owners or NFL owners because they've got their own set of problems. But I do think that relationship is meaningful. And I think it's hard to hold that all in balance. And I don't envy, Jay Monahan's job or Keith Pelley's job going into taking this into the future.
So ultimately, I'm sorry to keep this going, but basically, what happens is the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan's role. Ultimately, you represent the players. Justin Thomas said it just a week ago.
Yeah,
I used to be afraid of of talking to these people, but now I kind of realize they work for me and they represent me. So
that's what I'm saying, basically.
Right. And they have a vested interest. And so when they voice these complaints, they're in a way partners. And to request something that is really astronomical can ultimately hurt you. You have to have a really, really good alternative option. And there's no alternative option that's as proven as the PGA Tour. And when they continue to make strides the way they have and make big steps to help the players, it makes it harder to walk away. And so they are, in a way, Kyle, to your point, at risk of that. But the more they raise purses, the more they raise bonus structures, the more things they do like this, the better they make it for players, the happier the players get. And now they're not asking for a trade. They're not asking for things that are astronomical, because we have a partnership that works. It works for you and it works for me. And that's ultimately what you want. You want a good, solid relationship. And I think the players, and especially the players' agents, understand that. But
last thing, I'm sorry, Rick.
You're fine.
If you raise purses to the point that money has to come by, and again, I'm being dramatic here, but that has to come from putting 1 million commercials on or making people pay $1,000 to go to the Byron Nelson or whatever.
You're being dramatic.
Then what? Like, nobody's gonna come. No, like, there's not gonna be that audience there to pay the players, so it starts spiraling the other way. Am I like? Does that resonate, Rick, at all?
Yeah, it does. I think you're obviously taking it to the extreme, but I understand your point, which is there's a very fine line between making a lot of money to improve the game and then needing to complete your other obligations to continue making that money to continue to improve the game, and making those obligations come true might actually degrade from the game or the experience of viewing the game. Right.
Yeah. I mean, JT said it. JT said, hey, we're starting to be more properly compensated, but there's also the opportunity there for a better product. And it's like, those
right.
two, it's hard to do that. Right. And I think I think it's done fairly well right now, but I just have concerns about that continuing.
If it became the Best Buy tour and the only way you could watch it was to go into a Best Buy and watch it on the wall of TVs, that's all they put. You could see every player and every hole on one of the TVs on the wall at Best Buy. Would you go in and watch?
I mean, I would have to.
It's like your job.
Yeah.
But that ultimately wouldn't be good for Best Buy either. Because they would,
people hanging around
lose
the wall.
their. You're not going to. It's all about your return on the investment, right? And you realize you're going to lose all your return.
I might buy an HDMI cord while I'm in there. Who knows?
You know what? You know what the best thing in sports is when, and they do it in soccer a ton, when somebody sponsors like a half or a game. They did this. Rolex does this at the U.S. Women's Open. I think they do it at like maybe the Walker Cup or the USAM, and you get just commercial free coverage. I love your brand for that. I don't care what your brand is. I am more compelled towards your brand because of that. And maybe that's not true of everyone, but that's awesome. Like, more of that. That would be sweet.
Yeah.
Hold on, but I must say this. But that gets back to the objective behind what they do this for. It's to create brand awareness, is to create business to business opportunities and all that sort of stuff. And whether you go, okay, we commercial free for an hour and it's brought to you by IBM or whatever the case might be, people are thinking IBM. So now become like the Corn Ferry Tour. I guarantee you, no one really knows who Corn Ferry is, but they've heard about Corn Ferry now. So there's that name recognition. So if they offered options now and they're like, Corn Ferry, there we are, I'll at least look at the option. That's all the people want. And it's to Greg's thing. It's the return on investment. And I do not see the television product being littered with more commercial breaks. I just don't.
They're more likely to go the route you just mentioned, Kyle, because they realize that they want to be a partner in a product, they don't want to be the problem in a product. And that's, you hope that the tour, and I think they've shown that, and the other entities in golf are looking for partners who are supportive of the product rather than I guess it would be greedy, right? To go the way that you suggest would be a greedy move, and I don't think
I've never known corporations to be greedy,
yes,
right?
Correct. So here's the other thing, and we could do 9 more hours on this, but in other sports that don't have breaks, so soccer's a really good example because you get 45 minutes of commercial free action. They go to halftime, they come back, and they do 45 more minutes. And the way that they pay for that, the most global sport in the world, it gets paid for. The way that they do that is via sponsorships on apparel, right? These guys, the teams have these huge sponsorships across the chest. Well, we have that in golf. We have guys wearing sponsorships all over the place, and we still don't get the commercial free thing because these guys are negotiating all their own deals. If there was a union or the league was saying, these 60 guys are all going to wear whatever Flex Seal on their shirt, and that money is going to go towards commercial free. Now guys are getting sponsorship deals that are negotiated for them in bulk, and the user or the viewers are getting a different type of experience.
There's certainly more. There's more paths like for the money in golf than there is, and like there's less unification, and I think it can create problems. But I think there's also an opportunity to create a better and like elite product. There really is, and I hope that is the route that all of this goes. But I don't know. We'll see.
To put a bow on this, Korn Ferry, for those wondering at home, a Los Angeles-based management consulting firm. So I've learned that today. I've also learned today, Greg, a little birdie told me that you showed up on your doorstep and there were a couple of very heavy packages there that raised some eyebrows. Would you like to explain, please?
Yes, it was just a few short days ago, and I come home to my doorstep and there are these 2 boxes from a company called Butcher's Box, and inside the boxes was varieties of different cuts of steak and chicken and pork, and it was an enormous quantity, and the quantity is nice, but ultimately I made the decision to clear out my freezer, which I had to do. I had to clear out my freezer and replace it with the product of Butcher's Box. And what my wife and I found out was not only was it an immense amount of quantity, the quality was even higher, and it was extremely good. So we loved every single cut of meat we've tried so far from Butcher Box.
Would you say that each one of those boxes was 8 to 14 pounds of meat?
At the very least.
Would you say that was packed fresh and shipped frozen for your convenience?
Yes, I almost got freezer burn on my hand.
Would you say that it saved you time on your next grocery trip?
What grocery trip?
What grocery trip? That's right. And now that Greg is involved in Butcher Box, he's going to be able to customize the box that comes to him. So what he got, an assortment of everything. Maybe he's got some favorites. Maybe he's got some things he wants to try. Butcher Box is a great opportunity to do that. Of course, saving you time from going to the grocery store. 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more. Of course, free shipping in the continental U.S. That is what got me over the edge. And you can skip the lines for your Thanksgiving turkey this holiday. Butcher Box is proud to give new members a free turkey. You heard me correct. A free turkey. Just go to butcherbox.com/thefirstcut to sign up. That's butcherbox.com/thefirstcut to receive a free turkey in your first box. So that first box, KP, might be, I don't know, might be even heavier. A turkey's pretty significant.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we got this thing like a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm like, Greg, we had to give away popsicles and, clear out the frozen fruit. We've been making chili. We're having chicken tacos tonight. It's been phenomenal.
I did the same thing. I gave away a lot. I went to some of my neighbors and gave away some of the stuff. And it was, I mean, not only did I get a whole box of great meat, but I made some new friends of my neighbors in the process, which may be more valuable.
I just got to say, KP, you talk about the tacos tonight. The ground beef is sensational. We have used that stuff often.
Very good.
I'm having more of it tonight. Excellent.
Butcherbox.com/thefirstcut. Gentlemen, we're in Houston this week. And this is the name of this event. I'm going to get this right here eventually. But the big news coming
This is what I'm talking about.
The Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Houston Open, so this used to be, what was it before Vivint?
Shell.
Okay, right. Because they went from gas power to solar power, which was a very green move. And now they're into technology. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Houston Open. We're going to have a new one every single year out of Houston. But Mark, the big storyline here out of Tuesday, our defending champion, he's gone. Carlos Ortiz has withdrawn along with Emiliano Grillo. Ortiz citing continued discomfort in that shoulder from a couple of weeks ago, and he's going to just sit out the rest of the year and get right into 2022, but he will not be defending his crown this week.
I only have one observation there, Rick. My timing of my one and done pick was impeccable.
All roads lead back to the one and done, don't they?
They absolutely do. No, it's unfortunate. You hate to have a defending champion not defend his title, especially if it's the first one. But obviously, there's discomfort enough that they've decided, okay, that's enough for the season. We've got to use this extended break now to rest, rehab. I'm hoping there's no procedures involved, because any of those joints, when it comes to golf, it's a very big deal. Shoulders, knees, wrists, elbows, that sort of stuff. So I wish him all of the best. And it sucks to not defend your title, especially given that he played well last week.
KP, quick trivia. Can you name the last golfer to successfully defend his title?
Sorry, what was that?
Last golfer to successfully defend his title.
Victor Hovland.
Okay, that was like a trick question.
Before that.
I didn't know if I could get you on the spot.
I can go before that, though. It was Koepka 2018, 2019 PGA.
Okay, go one more.
Paul Casey at Valspar, wasn't it?
I think it was Casey at Valspar.
Oh, very good.
Give me Paul Casey then.
There we go.
Paul Casey. Pretty decent field here, KP. We've got Brooksy in the field. This is here's a good trivia question. It's a municipal course. You want to guess what the greens fee is on a weekend? So this is prime rate, weekend rate to play Memorial Park.
For a resident or?
Probably.
Wow, you don't even know your own questions.
But I got it off the city website, so I'm assuming yes.
I think I read that it was like $80 or something like that.
$38.
Wow. Maybe I'm thinking of is Torrey like 70 or 80? Something?
Yeah, Torrey used to be 60 for the north, and I think 100 for the south, and now it might be like 80 and 110 or something like that.
Okay. 38. That's crazy.
Mark, you're over 50 now. It's like $15 for seniors. It's like $15.
And is there a twilight right over the top of that too? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah, that's the weekend. Right. I like this, Greg. I like going to municipal courses. I think that this to me is actually like a grow the game initiative, because there are a lot of people who want to play the same courses as the pros do, and they most often cannot. But being able to go to these places, especially if you're a local and even a non-resident rate, probably much more feasible than you trying to get on a private court. This to me is one of the better grow the game initiatives that golf can do.
Yes, it has to be the right course though. Because again, you can't compromise the product. And when you're able to combine, and there are few that can do this, but Torrey Pines does it. This one did it last year for sure. Bethpage Black does it as well, where you are able to test the PGA Tour players, the best players in the world, a Dustin Johnson, a Carlos Ortiz, Hideki Matsuyama, Brooks Koepka, these guys that were all in the mix last year, and the winning score is 13 under, and they were really, really tested, and that goes a long way, and it really helps. Now we get the benefit of kind of the best of both worlds there, where we can experience a great event, and at the same time, if you're from the Houston area or traveling to Houston, you have the opportunity to go play. And there may not be a better option. So I agree with you, Rick.
A test is a good word for that. And KP, there were only 4 other non-major venues that played more difficult than Memorial Park did last year. There were 7 courses that were harder. This is it's not going to be a rollover birdie fest like we've kind of seen in the last couple of weeks.
No, it's not. You know, I hope it's playing firm. You know, it was pretty firm last year, and it's a course where, you know, the greens are big. I think I saw on rickrungood.com, it's like average of 7,000. Is that right?
That's right.
Square feet. Which is about double what like Pebble is for reference sake. But you know, I saw some guys talking about how like they're big, but if you miss, you are like, it's not good. You can be in some really bad spots. And even though they're big, like the actual landing area can be really small depending on where they put the pin. So I think if the wind blows, it's actually like a really kind of fun, tough course. And I think that's why you saw last year a Brooks Koepka play well there. You know, I think that he thrives, and it's not a coincidence that, you know, he helped design what I think is a pretty tough course, even for these guys. I think he thrives at places like that because he can be disciplined, like he talks about, and hit shots that are safer, like he does at major championships. So I think that to me is exciting because that's not what you normally see at courses at this time of year.
Couple things to build on what Kyle observed about the course, because I was on the call for PGA Tour Live last year. The greens are big, but they're broken down into quadrants with different shelves and stuff. And so they sort of play smaller than what they are. But to me, the big defense of the golf course, there's some brawny par fours, but the Bermuda rough that is somewhat dormant right now, it's not going to wear you out. I mean, you can advance the golf ball, but guessing how the golf ball comes out there, you could get some jets that go forever and some balls that sort of roll over and die at the top of their trajectory. So the whole thing is about, you know, trying to avoid the rough if you can. And if you are in the rough, judging the lies, because playing from Bermuda is really, really difficult, especially if it's dormant. So it's a good test all around. I was impressed when I saw it last year.
They are off and running at 6:40 a.m. And Greg, I'm going to get to your best bet. We're going to move into that, but I thought you might like this. Very first tee time of the day, 6:40 a.m. off the first tee. Listen to these three team no putters: Russell Henley, Jason Duffner, Kyle Stanley. The ball striking show that will take place out of the first group of the day.
That is a strong group of team no putters. Good thing they have daylight savings though, right, Kyle? The 6:40 start.
I was just thinking that. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until like, you know, 7:50 to get them out on the course.
Right. So look, I guess this is a benefit in our game. But what do you want to go to best bet here?
So here we go. This is our best bet. This is where we take over the entire site at Caesars Sportsbook. We scour every single corner, every square inch, and we come back with what we think the best bet is going to be. And Greg, you have gone for a 3-ball, my friend.
I've gone for a 3-ball, and it involves the PGA Tour consultant for the golf course, along with Tom Doak, Brooks Koepka. I have Brooks Koepka over Tyrrell Hatton and Taylor Gooch, and it's at plus 180, which I think are pretty good odds on that. I do like Taylor Gooch this week. I expect him to play well. He is the guy that I'm threatened by most in this, but I'm expecting a really good week from Koepka. And I promise there will be more on that later.
I only saw Koepka in the outline. I thought it might have been Chase Koepka over Tyrrell Hatton and Taylor Gooch. He is in the field this week. Just to clarify, Brooks is the bet here for Greg. KP, let's go to you because actually I called up Coach. I got his best bet, and it is in the same. It's the same exact bet that you've made. Which one I'd like your feelings on, and two I'd like to learn what it is.
Well, I don't feel great about it. I got Matthew Wolff over. I got Matthew Wolff over Tony Finau, and I mean both guys been hitting the ball really well. Finau's got 2, I think, actually T45s in a row. Hadn't been putting very well. The thing that encouraged me about Wolff is so he finished second at Shriners, or was it T2 behind Sungjae?
Yeah.
And then 5th at Mayakoba. And the Mayakoba one was interesting because obviously driver's his best club, and it wasn't a place where he could hit it a ton. And yet he still played really well, and he still thrived. And I think that we don't have strokes gained numbers from there, but if we did, I would imagine that his iron play was pretty pretty strong. And that, I think that translates into this week, and you get to add driver on top of that. So I don't know. I don't love walking in coach's footsteps, but I kind of like the number over Finau.
I love that we just behind coach's back every single week. Tell him how bad his picks are. He's never here to defend himself.
I would say that if he was on here.
Sure, so. We do say it to his face as well. So I think we can get away with it. I'm going with Sungjae Im -120 over Cam Smith. I scoured the data. Cam Smith has not historically been good on some of these longer par 70s. He's usually better in tough conditions, but not when it gets overly long. I'm going to go with Sungjae Im there. And Mark, you are taking a fade against someone that Greg took a fade against. You have which golfer over Tyrrell Hatton?
I've got Aaron Wise over Tyrrell Hatton, and I'll be honest with you, I used Hatton here last year in one and done, and he finished inside the top 10 because he's a really reliable ball striker and he hits good irons, and so it's the kind of place where you could sort of hit that leaky fade that he does and still play well. But Aaron Wise is, he's long, he's clearly playing with a lot of confidence right now with a number of top 10s and no miscuts in 4 starts this fall, so I'm sort of going with a hot hand. You never know when fatigue will set in, but he's young, he's fresh, and the confidence is high. So I believe he's played well in the past. I can't remember the number, but I think Wise is a good bet over Hatton this week.
To recap, Coach and Kyle are going with Matthew Wolff over Tony Finau. Greg is going with Brooks Koepka over Tyrrell Hatton and Taylor Gooch +180 there. Mark is going with Aaron Wise over Tyrrell Hatton, and I'm going with Sungjae Im over Cam Smith, which is a graphic that you're looking at on YouTube right now. Thank you, producer Jacob. Going to our expert picks, let's start with the sleepers. The coach called in. He says he's going with Tyrrell Hatton, 33-1. Greg, we talked about this a little bit on Monday. This is someone we've been keeping a very close eye on for the last, 14 months or so.
And this would be Mackenzie Hughes for me. And I'm very interested in Mackenzie Hughes. Now, if you look on rickrungood.com, you see a lot of struggles in the ball striking area. And off the tee and approach, and he has a tendency of losing strokes in that area. It's kind of the opposite of Kyle Stanley, where Kyle Stanley is it's a Christmas tree, but it's green on the left-hand side, the ball striking side, and it's red on the right-hand side. Well, it's the opposite. It's the opposite for Mackenzie Hughes. I think short game's really important at this venue. You mentioned the length. You mentioned the scores that it's not quite that birdie fest. If it does become a birdie fest, if it gets soft, then I don't like Mackenzie Hughes. Part of the reason why he's a sleeper. So I'm hoping for some tougher conditions as well, because players are going to miss some of these bigger greens when they miss fairways and when the wind's blowing. And a Tom Doak green can be large and hard to hit at the same time. So this is why I believe he had a really nice finish last year. He was tied 7th here last year. And he did hit the ball well, but he gained a lot in the short game. He gained a lot putting and a lot around the greens. And he's been doing that fairly consistently throughout the entirety of the year. And then you add to it his recent form, where you have a tied 27th at the Northern Trust, then 52nd at the BMW. But then this season, tied 35th, tied 25th, and tied 4th at the Zozo. So I look for him to continue the trend and perform well on a tough course.
If you combined Mackenzie Hughes and Kyle Stanley into one player, they'd be the best player on planet Earth. I'd like to see that a little bit. KP, your sleeper has made his way onto my card as well, but not as my sleeper. I'm very excited about this golfer, and I imagine this might be music to Mark's ears as well. Who is it?
Russell Henley.
Bang!
Second, he's actually 3rd in the field in ball striking in his last 20 rounds, but the guy in first, who is Brooks Koepka's brother, Chase, only has 2 measured rounds. So Russell's really second behind Mito, who did not play well, missed the cut last week at Mayakoba. Russell has been playing well, and he's been putting a lot worse than he normally does. I think there's going to be a correction there. He's hitting the ball great. He didn't score that well at Mayakoba, but I think that on a course like this, where iron play is so important and you got to hit some like spots on these greens with his irons, I think he's going to thrive.
Mark, go knock on his door and ask him how he's feeling this week. We'll wait until you get back.
I hadn't seen him around. Yeah, I think we caught him here recently. Maybe he was playing out in Vegas and seemed like he was in good spirits.
Yeah, he has made my card as well. But Mark, you're going much deeper than everybody else in the sleeper category. You're going to 150 to 1 for your sleeper.
Yeah, I have, and I got to be honest. I considered Russ because Henley, that is, because when I did talk to him about it, he said he just loves going to Houston. There's something about the place he loves. He loves it out there, and used to love it more when we were at Redstone. But he's finding his way down there at Memorial Park. I'm going with another Georgia Bulldog, and this is a continuation, Rick, of our conversations with him in Vegas at the CJ Cup. Hudson Swafford is just he's got a little something about him right now. The guy's driving it awesome. The short game is still bad, and I don't typically go with guys that don't have great skills around the greens. But the thing about this golf course, you can do a lot of long drives, a lot of greens and stuff, and make a lot of pars, and you don't have to wear the thing out. And so if you just stack off the odd birdie, and he's long enough to get to some of these fives, you can stack up 470s and very much be in the mix. And he's the last 12 rounds he's played, no miscuts. Everything's been in the 60s bar 2 rounds. So I feel like there's a little traction there, and he seemed quietly confident when you and I talked to him, and played really well there in Vegas for a little bit. So I'm going with Swafford this week.
Hudson Swafford for Mark. That's 150 to 1 over at Caesars Sportsbook. I'll back mine up here. I'm going with Jason Kokrak. He has not been good recently, but this on paper should be a really good spot for him. And I was foreshadowing earlier, Henley making my card. I had him to finish inside the top 10 plus 425 for Russell Henley to find himself inside the top 10 this week. So he makes my card as well. Greg, let's go back to you for your top 10, please.
My top 10 is a guy I felt a little better about this before you were talking, Rick, but it's Cam Smith.
Before I just gave a little negative nugget.
Yeah, a little negative nugget. The long course is giving him a little struggle, but I can answer to it. Okay, so Cam Smith, in his last 8 events, which spans back to the U.S. Open, has finished inside the top 34 in every event, and he has 4 top 10s, including his last start at the CJ Cup. And in that span, the ball striking has been really quite good. He's only lost, if you combine off the tee and approaching the green, he's only lost strokes there once. So I look at that as a really big benefit. And then so he's a guy that's hitting the ball nicely, but his real fingerprint, his real DNA is in the short game, and his around the green play and his putting is elite. And so I really like that combination. As for the distance and maybe some struggles on longer par 70 venues, I'm hoping that it plays fast and it shortens the golf course a little bit. And in that case, he can really lean on the short game and putting a little bit more. So I'm thinking Cam Smith, top 10 this week.
If he does it, it'll be worth 2.5 times your money. We called Coach. He said he's going with Lonto Griffin plus 450 to finish inside the top 10. He's won this event before, not at this golf course, and he's playing much better. A couple of top 7 finishes in his last 2 starts. But Kyle, we are all ears, brother, because you are about to tell us about probably my favorite player in the field right now.
Yeah, Sammy B, the favorite, Sam Burns. Is he a star? Is Sam Burns a star?
He will be.
I think he might be.
I think so. I think he is.
He's the modern player. Strong, hits it far, putts well, great approach player. He is a ceiling guy. You get a lot of volatility with him. That's good for winning. He's been knocking at the door a lot. He just got it's happening. This is the year of Sam Burns.
Data Golf has him as the 12th ranked player in the world right now, which is, it's kind of what the numbers say. And I think that I think what's interesting about him, and we've talked about this, I think, a little bit before, is he went from being really long off the tee to still pretty long, above average, certainly. But he's really playing a more controlled game right now, and that seemed to have helped his iron play. His iron play has gone from average to really good over the last, year or two. You probably know those numbers better than I do, Rick, but he like I have a lot of excitement around him going into 2022. I really think that and he might not win. You know, John Rahm only won once this year. It's that stuff is just so much luck. But I think he is ready to be like, hey, this guy's one of the 10 favorites this week in fields like Riviera, like the Players Championship, stuff like that.
He is nearly a full stroke, closer to 3/4 of a stroke on approach better since the start of last season than the rest of his career. That is a massive improvement.
That doesn't happen. It never happens. I think Max Homa kind of did it, but his was more so because he was bad and he went to being like a little bit above average. Burns was okay and he went to being great.
Last 24 rounds, Sam Burns second to only John Rahm in strokes gained total. John Rahm not in this field. Also, Bermuda Burns. This is by far his best putting surface in his last 5 starts on Bermuda. He's won 2 of them. And if you want course history, his only trip to Memorial Park, T7.
He was leading after 2 rounds.
All signs point to Sam Burns. Mark, your top 10. If it comes in, it'll be at plus 210, and it's someone who played well last week.
I want to put a bow on the Sam Burns iron game thing. Look, he's not short by any stretch of the imagination, or not shorter, but I think Travis Perkins on the bag has been a huge addition, because just the numbers, the way he speaks to Sam, the way he galvanizes Sam's belief, and that has got such a big influence in the free swinging of it all, because Sam's always had that sort of a thing, you know, playing under David Tum's counsel. But Travis Perkins has made a big deal. But anyway, you know, he's super exciting to me this week too. But I'm going with someone I considered for a long while. This is for my top 10 and for one and done. And that's Scotty Scheffler. I think he's a champion in waiting. And nothing would be more appropriate than to finish out what's been a real solid year in his home state on a golf course that sort of fits his game a little bit. You know, a lot of the courses there in Dallas, they Bermuda all over the place. So he's comfortable on the surface. He's played well last week. Sort of fumbled it toward the end. So maybe there's that little chip on the shoulder coming in here to his home state. So I think Scheffler is a contender this week.
Top 10 recap. I'm going with Russell Henley plus 425. Mark's going with Scotty Scheffler plus 210. Kyle with Sam Burns at plus 170. Greg went with Cam Smith plus 250. And Lonto Griffin for the coach at plus 450. Coach went with, for his winner, 33-1. There's a lot of guys in that 30 to 35 range this week. He went with Matthew Wolff, 33-1 for the coach. Greg, oh boy, you're in on this guy. Who'd you pick to win?
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I was on the fence, and I've fallen to the side of victory. And it's Brooks. Not Chase, but Brooks Koepka.
Koepka, got it.
So Brooks, there's a few interesting things. One, he did play really well last year, tied 5th last year. Kyle mentioned the difficulty of the course and how that benefits a guy like Brooks Koepka. Distance is an important factor this week, I do believe. It can certainly be an asset. I think there will be a mix. I don't think everybody on the leaderboard is going to be long. See Mackenzie Hughes and Cam Smith, who will be there. But Brooks Koepka has gained off the tee in every event since the Masters when he was hurt, despite the injury. And he's gained approaching the green in all of those but 4. So his ball striking has been phenomenal. And combining ball striking and approaching the green, he's gained in all but 1. So his tee to green play has been phenomenal. And the other thing that I really like is he all of a sudden has morphed into a range rat. I'm not sure where that came from, but he's practicing. So he's told us that he's put in some work in. And the miscut last week, I think, will steer a lot of people away. It definitely helps the number. It helps his DraftKings price. It helps on all those areas. But at the same time, this guy, when he gets ready for an event, can do it very quickly. It's what we see at major championships time after time. He gets himself ready in a week. He goes and plays a week, and then the next week's a major, and he plays great. He played last week, didn't go great. I think he shook some rust off. I expect a really nice finish out of him. And he has also performed well in the fall before. He won the CJ Cup in the fall. That's the first one that comes to my mind. And I think he might add the Hewlett Packard Enterprises Houston Open to the list.
Wow. Gentlemen, a couple of nuggets here. Chase Koepka. Guess his odds. Guess his outright odds this week. Brooks is 28 to 1.
250.
Not bad.
280.
Keep going. Go ahead, Mark.
350.
500 to 1.
Wow.
The last 3 times that Brooks and Chase have played in the same tournament together,
Chase beat him
has
last time, right?
He's beaten him 2 of the last 3. And the one that he didn't beat them, they both missed the cut, which some books would wash that and just push it. So you might be 2-0-1 if you've bet Chase over Brooks the last 3 times they played the same event.
That ain't happening again.
Is that a matchup? Can you get that?
It is not currently available. We got to get our friends at Caesar. It's all a simple calculation. They should let you put anybody against anyone, but we got to get them to put up a Chase versus Brooks matchup.
I'm with Greg. I think who knows with Koepka. I never know what he's thinking or whatever, but I think this course like engages his mind in a way that maybe other courses don't. So I think he's going to play well. That's Brooks, not Chase, by the way.
Matthew Wolf for Coach, Brooks for Greg. KP will stay here with you. This is a stretch of golf for your winner. Arguably one of the better players this season in 4 starts, no worse than a T11 finish.
Yeah, and it's been the best golf of his career, I think. Taylor Gooch, 4 straight top 11s, was in it last week until he kind of he was in the final pairing. Is that right? Yeah. And just didn't play well in the final round. But talk about good iron play. He's been awesome with his irons. And I think there's a little concern off the tee just because he hasn't been great there, but he's been playing such solid golf, and it's 30 to 1, 33 to 1, I think. So yeah, I like him a ton this week. 2 straight OSU wins, Hovland and Gooch.
Ooh. Yeah, there was a all Oklahoma State like DraftKings lineup that probably would have won all the money last week because you could have had Victor, Gooch, Wolf. I think you would have had to go to Charles Howe and Alex Noren, or maybe Kevin Tway, one of them. They all made the cut, but like an all Oklahoma State lineup would have made you like a lot of money last week.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sweet. I love it.
I'm going with a different 30 to 1 player. I'm going with Aaron Wise. I'm saving Sam Burns for just a few more minutes, and I'm not going to miss out on when Aaron Wise actually cashes this in and wins a golf tournament, which leaves you, Mark, for your winner, please.
What did you call him? Bermuda Sam? Yeah.
Bermuda Burns.
Bermuda Burns. Yeah. I'm going with the favorites. He's undeniable right now. Had a couple of victories, then was a factor in Vegas, and really played pretty solid and just had a few putts that didn't rim down. I caught up with his sports psychologist just recently and said, man, he's got the nose to the grindstone and been working hard, feels good about the game, and he's going to a place that's just down the road from where he lives, and he's comfortable on the grass. So Sam Burns.
Hold that Sam Burns thought for just 1 second. We're going to move on to our one and done. We're going to work our way up from the bottom as we do each and every week. Sia Nejad, 394,000. He would love 934,000. 394,000. He's seen enough. He's going with Sam Burns to try to get himself back into this. KP, 527,000. You are 1.4 million behind Greg. We need something from you here, brother. This is tough to look at. I mean, do we have to put this up here, producer Jacob? Do we have to look at this? I'm going with Gooch. I'm not going to use him at any other point this season. Somebody like Burns, I actually might use at like it's a little bit the Zalatoris thing from last fall. You're like, I might use him at like, something like Wells Fargo or Riviera or something like that. So I'm going to ride Gooch this week. I didn't think anybody else would play him. Nobody else did. And I need something that nobody else has. That was my only concern about Burns is am I going to miss out somewhere else? But I thought, you know what? He's playing well now. Weird stuff happens when these guys take 5 weeks off and then everybody starts coming back in January. And I'm very bullish on him, but there's like the 2% of me that was like, what if this is not real and this ends here? So I used him.
I mean, it's a good pick.
Greg, 1.9 million. You are, I can't believe I'm saying this, nipping at the heels of Coach. 1.98 is what Coach has. You have 1.93, and you are coming off a week in which you got 109,800 from Aaron Wise. Who would you like for this week?
I need a solid week again, but I'm still, although Mark is, and all you have to do is ask him about it, he's putting pressure on everybody else. So
you don't even have to ask him about it. He'll just tell you.
You're right. Just go on Twitter. But despite the pressure, I'm trying to stay true to my strategy here. I'm going to go with Russell Henley. There were a lot of reasons mentioned earlier, and the recent form has been really good with Henley. The thing about last week, you'll see a tied 56 finish, but he shot 76 in the third round. And I look at that as an anomaly for a guy that's hitting the ball as well as he is. I look at the putt-in for Henley, and I think it's a hinge point. He doesn't lose strokes the way he has very often in his career. He's lost strokes in 3 events in a row, on a couple of occasions, but he usually bounces back. And I'm in need of a bounce back this week, and I think it's going to happen. So I'm trusting the ball striking of Russ, and I think he's going to put together a great week and help me catch Mark Immelman.
Hey, dude, really?
I don't.
You need the Players' Championship and then some.
Help me. I'm just skipping away.
Coach is in fourth, 1.9 million. He's doubling down. He's going with Matthew Wolf. Jacob, a very solid third. Come in here, sir. Jacob is at 2.3 million, and I tip my cap to you for that. Who would you like to pick this week?
We're gonna go with Scotty Scheffler. I honestly thought at least one other person would pick him, so I guess Mark tipped his hand saying that he was deciding between Scheffler and his ultimate pick here. So, I mean, look, let's just take a walk down Narrative Street and let's see Scotty Scheffler win the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Houston Open.
Great start to the year, Jacob.
He almost won the Dell Match Play, so this would be like a computer versus computer.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. That's the B2B double. So
yeah, huge.
How has it been, Jacob, with us submitting our picks into a Google form? Have we all been on our best behavior?
Everyone has been doing so well with that. Haven't had to track anyone down. It's been great, and coaches in the middle of the pack, so he can't complain if he's at the bottom. But also he's not at the top, so we can't accuse him of rigging it. So I think we're in a great equilibrium right now as we start to head into the off season. As
somebody who is just not doing well this season, I would like to say that the system is way better. It's so good. It's just
broken. The system.
Me too.
Broken.
Yeah, I know. That's the path I was trying to lead you down, and then I flipped it on you. It's been great. I think it's excellent.
I think it's gonna be fun whenever we get janky, and I think we assign arbitrary money to the Hero World Challenge.
Yeah,
the QBE shootout.
However much we're behind Mark, that's how much we're going to add to the prize purse at some point.
Yeah. We need to add in sort of bonus system for what you can get for the QBE shootout or the father son. Are they still doing that?
Yeah, the PNC. We could also do like our own little pip where we assign money based on Twitter engagements, and that goes into the one and done pool.
Oh, I like that. I'll get with Coach on that, but I think he would find a way to rig that.
He's got a lot of followers. That might be good for him. Jacob is going with Scotty Scheffler. I'm at 2.3 million, just a hair above Jacob. I'm going with Sam Burns. And Mark, you're at 4.2 million. I will not be making up any ground on you this week. We will be in tow with Mr. Sam Burns.
Just so we're clear, because some of us have only just figured out the YouTube and these sorts of things on the internet, and this Google document you send your one and done picks on, I text mine to Jacob, so Jacob knows exactly who I'm going with. Yeah. So he knows who I'm going with.
You're outside the rules. Disqualified.
It's rigged.
I think Jacob should be disqualified.
So
There's no
only puts
illusion.
Mark at the
This
disadvantage.
is crooked, Jacob. This is crooked.
It only puts Mark at the disadvantage.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say it. So I texted him earlier today. I'm like, Hatton, Scheffler, between them and Sam Burns. In the end, I went with Burns for the same reasons you did, Rick. He's playing well. He may as well strike while the iron is hot. There's some enterprising spots for him next year, but these guys, when they're playing well, you got to take advantage. And man, his confidence must be soaring right now.
I submit mine at the same exact time throughout the day as you guys do. I don't
like these side dealings.
But if you already have information that nobody else has, this is not. Well, it's kind of on Mark. Right?
I mean, Mark sent one in today. He sent in one.
Yeah, I did. I actually did. I found it, and I did it. It was an event. There were celebrations in my house.
Congratulations, you're comfortable with your lead.
Hey, congratulations on figuring out email in 2021.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to be clear, the event that Mark figured out was opening his email and typing in a golfer's name and clicking send. That's what he figured out how to do.
Do you want to see how many emails I got? There you go.
1,359.
That's horrific. That is.
Send me an email. I'll never get it.
38. I'm on 38 right now.
You want to come check mine for me?
Oh man, got to get the autofocus fixed. To recap: Sia DeJade, Sam Burns, Kyle Porter, Taylor Gooch, Greg DuCharme, Russell Henley. The coach, Matthew Wolf. Jacob's going with Scotty Scheffler. Mark and I are going with Sam Burns. Next week is RSM.
The end.
Then Bryson Brooks.
Oh, I forgot.
Hero World Challenge. Then QBE. Then Maui. Is that right? Sounds right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's off the top of your head. That's impressive.
Thank you. It is. Anything else before we get out of here? Mega preview pod for this week's Houston Open. Did anybody sign up for Twitter Blue?
No, but I have 15 emails in my inbox.
I did.
How is it, Jacob?
It's completely not at all different from the normal Twitter experience. I will be canceling it immediately. You can change your icon on the phone, like if that matters to you. But that's
just give me literally. I'll give you any amount of money that you want. Just give me an edit button. Like
it has that,
an undo.
It's a fake edit button. It's not real.
There's no difference between just like deleting the tweet and then sending it back out like 30 seconds later.
Why don't they just have it an edit button, but say this tweet has been edited, and then you can click to see what the original version said?
It's so easy.
Like $1 trillion idea.
Right. Right. Because that's the reason why you wouldn't have an edit button in the first place, is because then you could get a tweet to go viral, and then you change what it says so you get people reacting to the wrong thing, which makes sense.
I would tweet
give the option for what the original tweet said. I think you're fine.
I would tweet Sam Burns is going to win the Houston Open, and then on Sunday I would edit it to whoever wins and be like, "Look, I'm a genius. I'm brilliant." So you'd have to be able to show the original version. Anything else?
Which technically you can by using the Wayback Machine.
Does that work for Twitter?
Yeah.
Does Space Jam still have the original website? Do you guys know about this? Space Jam, still as of 6 months ago, still had the original 1990. Here we go. Jacob's got it on his screen. There it is. Still the original website from whatever year. Does it say what year? 1996.
That's sweet.
I didn't know they had the internet then.
Like Internet 2.0.
It's barely the internet.
Planet B-Ball.
This is sick.
Oh
wow.
my gosh.
Look at this red. Look at that red font on that black.
Oh yeah. Background. Look at the spinning.
Oh yeah, yeah. That got my attention. James.
Who did that work? High quality.
We don't have time to get into this, but if you ever just want a rabbit hole to go down, just look up Time Cube. Just go down that Wikipedia article. We can't do it right now. It's a conspiracy theory that time is not actually linear. It's a cube.
Oh God, Jacob. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Anything else before we get out of here that will not be Time Cube related?
Yes, next week I will be listening to you guys on this podcast from in the wild of South Africa. So I'll be down in the bush.
How long is that trip, Mark?
From Atlanta to Johannesburg direct, it's about 16 and a half hours, and then a little layover, and then another hour to where we go. So all in, I'd say about 24 hours total.
Wow.
But
is there
not bad?
Is there daylight savings time in the time cube, Jacob?
I don't know about that. Just run down the Wikipedia.
I can't. All right. That'll do it for this week's Mega Preview Pod. Mark, safe travels. You can find Mark Immelman on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. That right there. Greg DuCharme. You can find him at The Real GFD. Kyle Porter, who you can find at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.